everyone. Welcome, everyone, and welcome to the 26th Annual Arts and Sciences Distinguished Alumni Award Dinner. We are really pleased to have you here this evening. My name is Andrea Grant. I'm a member of the Board of Trustees. I chair the Washington-Baltimore Regional Cabinet, and I have the honor and privilege to serve as the chair of the National Council on Arts and Sciences. We have a very special evening planned for you tonight. We are going to celebrate an incredible slate of outstanding honorees. Now, this is a very rare occasion where we get to see the impact of our arts and sciences graduates on the impact they have had not only in their areas of specialty, but on society as a whole. We are going to honor 3 distinguished alumni, 2 Early Career Achievement Award winners, and 2 Dean medalists tonight. Now, Washington University prides itself on providing a strong and solid foundation for all of its students. What we have, as I said before, a great opportunity to see how arts and sciences graduates go out into the world and do great things. Now, this evening, before we get started, we're not going to have the award ceremony until we're having dessert. So in the interim, I just wanted to recognize and honor a number of very important people who have supported Washington University for a very long time. So I would ask a number of you to rise and be recognized. First and foremost, if you are a prior recipient of a Distinguished Alumni Award from Arts and Sciences, would you please stand and be recognized? I'm sure we have a number of them. The next group that I would like to recognize is the members of the National Council on Arts and Sciences. Now, the National Council, for some of you who may not know it, it's a prestigious leadership group that has about 3 primary objectives. First and foremost, we try to provide advice and guidance to Dean Hu. The second thing is we try to act as ambassadors for arts and sciences out in the WashU community and in the general community. And thirdly, our members provide very generous financial support to arts and sciences. So I would like to ask the members of the National Council to stand and to receive recognition and to thank you for your service to the university. Thank you. Another prestigious group that works very hard for the university is the Arts and Sciences Elliott Society Committee. Now, those individuals are key in reaching out to the WashU community, and the committee members work tirelessly to sustain and increase the annual fund. And as many of you understand in this room, the annual fund is critical to the day-to-day operations of arts and sciences, and we cannot thank them enough for their service to WashU. So could those members stand as well? Now, we do want to honor those members who are members of the Arts and Sciences Elliott Society Committee, not committee, but group. So if you are a member, please, would you stand? We would like to honor you as well. I know we have a few out there. Thank you. Now, finally, we don't want to forget our faculty. Our faculty is outstanding, and we honor them in many different ways. But tonight, we would like to say thank you to the outstanding faculty for your teaching, your mentorship, your leadership, your research, and so much more that you do for the students of this university and for the university as a whole. So would our faculty, either current or retired, please stand and be recognized. Now, lastly, we are very fortunate. We have several students with us tonight, and I'm sure you all heard during our reception, we had that string trio playing, and those students have been joining us tonight. We want to say thank you very much to the three of them. Brad Gober, who is majoring in political science, Ben Faden, who is majoring in philosophy, and Coco Wicks, who is majoring in mathematical sciences. We are also going to have during dinner a pianist, Nate Sapp, who is going to play for us, and he is majoring in mechanical engineering. So we are very fortunate to have these wonderful students perform tonight, and if we could give a round of applause for our student musicians. All right, well, now that's enough of welcoming. We want you to relax, enjoy yourself, enjoy your dinner, and I'll come back a little bit later when we get our program started. Thank you very much. Hello again. If I could please have your attention, we're about to start our program. Just to get started, I want to tell you that I have a great honor tonight to introduce Dean Feng-Sheng Hu, our fearless leader. Let's have a round of applause for the Dean. Now, Dean Hu is the Richard G. Engelsman Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, and he is the Lucille P. Markey Distinguished Professor. Now, Dean Hu came to Washington University in 2020, very difficult time, and he's a biologist by training, but he is extremely well recognized and well respected for his innovative and interdisciplinary work, his research on climate change. Now, before the dean came to Washington University, he was a longtime leader and member of the faculty of the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. And we were very fortunate to have him come to Washington University. Now, he is a strong leader responsible for all aspects of arts and sciences, our programs, our curriculum, our initiatives, our students, our faculty. We are just very fortunate to have a strong, visionary leader. So please, with great honor, let's give a warm welcome to Dean Feng-Sheng Hu.
Good evening. It's great to see all of you, and thank you, Andrea, for the incredibly generous introduction. It is an honor to be here with all of you this evening as we celebrate the 2026 recipients of the Arts and Sciences Distinguished Alumni Awards. I want to take a moment to welcome our distinguished award recipients and their special guests, members of the Arts and Sciences National Council, our alumni and friends, and our dedicated faculty and staff who have worked tirelessly for weeks to make this evening a success. The Distinguished Alumni Awards are a wonderful tradition where we recognize the accomplishments of outstanding alumni, community leaders, and generous donors. Our honorees make a difference around the world, and their remarkable achievements and impact are a key driver of our growing reputation as a premier center of learning, discovery, and service to society. Between them, our recipients studied physics, psychology, history, Spanish, classics, philosophy, and English literature, a microcosm of the vast range of disciplines that make up our school. Thanks to the strong collaboration of our academic community and the extraordinary generosity demonstrated by our alumni and donors, many of whom are here tonight, Arts and Sciences is a thriving example of cross-disciplinary excellence and convergent research. I know you will see that reflected in the tremendous accomplishments of our honorees, and I'm fortunate to see it every day, both on campus and around the world. Now, before we move on to the main event, I'd like to share just a few milestones that Arts and Sciences has achieved in the last year or so. First, some of you are already aware of this. I am thrilled to tell you that our psychology PhD program was ranked number 8 by US News and World Report. So it is our first PhD program to break into the top 10 in the past 20 years. Now, keep in mind that number 8 out of roughly 1,500 psychology programs in the country. So it's huge. I think we all know that our undergraduate programs are among the very best in the country and in the world. What's less widely known is that our graduate programs are on a remarkable upward trajectory. This year, most of our PhD programs have acceptance rates below 10%. In fact, half of them are below 5%. And our psychology PhD program received approximately 500 applications from all over the world for roughly a dozen spots available. So that really underscores both their competitiveness and growing prestige. Our faculty members are making major strides in research and discovery, from life-changing efforts to develop vaccines for Alzheimer's disease, to innovative strategies for combating infections that can follow medical implants. A signature initiative, the Incubator for Transdisciplinary Futures, achieved a major key milestone recently. It achieved a 10-to-1 return on investment. We spent $2 million on various projects, and we ended up getting $20 million in external grants. So even more exciting, through the incubator, Arts and Sciences has engaged dozens of departments across all WashU schools, fostering new research communities aimed at breakthrough discoveries. I'm also proud to report that our new Department of Statistics and Data Science is only 3 years old, and it has recruited some of the field's most talented data scientists, outcompeting schools like Stanford and Berkeley, with faculty launching groundbreaking research and collaborations across campus and beyond. The department has already established national prominence as a data science powerhouse, one poised to transform fields including artificial intelligence, public health, sustainability, and beyond. We have also introduced our highly anticipated program in public health and society, which offers an undergraduate major and a minor with right now a total of 150 students already. And it's less than 2 years old. In addition, we have significantly ramped up efforts to engage undergraduate students in signature courses and experiential learning opportunities. In the last 5 years, more than 1,500 first-year students have participated in our signature Ampersand courses, which offer small interdisciplinary classes with opportunities for hands-on field work, research, and travel. Now, none of these successes would be possible without your belief in our vision and your unwavering support. Today, as higher education, academic research, and civic engagement are front and center in the public eye, the importance of our alumni and donors cannot be overstated. It is because of you that we can provide world-class teaching, research, and scholarship at WashU, so thank you all so much. Tonight's award winners have built upon their educational foundation with impressive personal and professional experiences, creating a bold vision for the future and making outstanding contributions to their communities. Thank you all again for joining us tonight as we celebrate their stories and commemorate their exceptional accomplishments. And now I'm pleased to turn it over to Jeff Zacks and Abraham Van Lengang to introduce our first two honorees. Jeff is the chair of the Department of Psychological and Brain Sciences, and Abraham is the chair of the Department of English. Jeff.
Good evening. I'm Jeff Sachs, the chair and professor of psychological and brain sciences and the Edgar James Swift professor in arts and sciences.
And I'm Abraham Van Ingen. I'm the Stanley Elkin professor in the humanities, the chair of the Department of English, and the director of the John C. Danforth Center on Religion and Politics.
It's a pleasure to be here tonight to present the Early Career Achievement Award to business partners Marcus Jecklin and Michael Weiss. Marcus and Michael became friends while attending WashU. Marcus's early entrepreneurial spirit was cultivated during his time at the university, where he became a member of the student entrepreneurial program. His first acquisition would be Bears Bikes, an on-campus bicycle rental and retail business that he successfully sold before graduating in 2012.
Michael first demonstrated his entrepreneurial acumen in 2016 as the co-founder of World's Fair USA, history's first privatized effort to organize a World's Fair in the United States. This would be the first partnership Michael and Marcus would embark on together, launching a series of events called World's Fair Nano that brought together diverse groups of experts for lectures and demonstrations about the future of everything, ranging from space travel to cities, to food and more. At its peak, their company produced a bi-coastal technology festival hosted in New York City and San Francisco, attended by over 8,000 participants.
2 years later, in 2018, the two would go on to co-found their events and media company, Fora Group. With their finger on the pulse of upcoming technologies and a desire to drive people's access to information, Michael and Marcus put their focus on creating AI4, the annual AI summit that has gone on to become the country's premier artificial intelligence industry conference.
Through these ventures, Michael has demonstrated his aptitude for team building, content strategy, and sponsorship sales, not to mention driving 8-figure annual revenues and positioning AI4 as the go-to platform for AI thought leadership and commerce. Skills he obviously honed during his time at WashU, and I should say, during his major in the English department. In under 10 years, this duo has managed to turn their 300-person event in Brooklyn, New York, into America's largest AI conference. This year's AI4 event is slated to have over 1,000 speakers, more than 400 AI exhibitors, and an anticipated 12,000 attendees from over 90 countries, sponsored by some of the biggest names in tech.
This summer, Marcus will celebrate his more recent collaboration with his lovely wife, Olivia, a baby boy set to be born in June. Congratulations, Marcus. And congratulations to you both on receiving the Early Career Achievement Award.
When I visited WashU, I just loved it. I thought the campus was amazing.
Both my parents went to WashU, so it was on my radar from an early age. My freshman year, I stumbled across the opportunity to purchase this student-run business called Bears Bikes. I had always had a feeling that I wanted to be an entrepreneur as a kid, but I never had an opportunity to really try it out. So yeah, getting to run Bears Bikes over the 3 years that I owned it was a really awesome experience and just kind of solidified that this could be a potential career path for me.
I was rush chair for the SIGAP fraternity, and so I was in charge of getting people together and selling people on joining SIGAP. And I think, I had a lot of fun doing that, and it was kind of similar to what we ended up doing, building this conference business of getting people together and I guess you could say selling them on AI. I became interested in AI actually over the 3 years from 2015 to 2018 when we were trying to bring the World's Fair back to the US, which was the first project I had started in 2015, and then Marcus joined me in 2016. And through that World's Fair project, we were hosting these annual kind of like consumer-facing technology festivals.
We kind of realized the coolest technology that everyone was talking about at these World's Fair Nano events was AI. And so even in 2018, we could see that AI was kind of the next big thing. And we never could have predicted how big it was going to be or where we were in the trajectory of AI at the time. We actually thought that we were maybe at the peak or had even missed the peak back in 2018. We were very wrong about that, fortunately. And that's kind of the story of how AI4 was born.
It's grown into the largest AI industry conference in the US. The whole journey of being an English Lit major and a lot of arts I majors, I think, is just building critical thinking skills. And the critical thinking that I learned at WashU gets applied every day in what we do with AI4. Making a difference in a field takes typically more intrinsic motivation than extrinsic. For example, I could tell a student, hey, I'll give you $1 million if you figure this thing out. Or a student could be like, I care about this deeply for XYZ reason. Typically, I think the second student is gonna find success more often.
Building relationships and connections, extremely important. I think it's hard to understand when you're in college that some of your greatest inspiration will actually come from your peers. I'd like to thank Dean Hu for taking an interest in what Michael and I are doing, and also thank the rest of the WashU professors who have also taken an interest in what we're doing. I think it's all about the people that WashU brings together. And if you attend WashU, you're gonna make friends with other WashU students, of course, because you're surrounded by them. And from my personal experience, I've met so many amazing people. I think WashU students are the best people ever. So that right there is worth everything.
I think so, yeah. It's photo time.
Where's the photo?
Right next here, right here. And where's the photographer? Right there.
Hey, all the other speakers, take note.
Thank you, thank you. It's a very big honor to receive this award. WashU is full of incredibly talented people, and I'll be honest, I was a pretty average student here. So I'm grateful that despite my academic mediocrity, I found a path to something that I'm really, really, truly proud of. I do have to acknowledge that the role that good luck and good timing has played in all of this. 8 years ago, when we first had the idea for an AI conference, the technology was nothing like it is today. We had some vision, and we hoped that AI would take off, but nobody could have predicted the impact of what it was or what it was to become, including us. I just want to thank a few people. First, I want to thank Dean Hu and Jamie Barron and all the other members of the WashU community who have taken a genuine interest in what Michael and I are building. It really means a lot. I'd like to thank the entire AI4 team. None of the rest of them are here, but they support us daily and have poured a ridiculous amount of time and energy into making this whole thing work. I'd like to thank my parents, Allison Weinstein and Ivan Jecklin. for being supportive of every decision that I've made, including the big decision to quit my job in real estate and become an entrepreneur. I'd like to thank my best friend and business partner, Michael Weiss. Without your bold first steps on the World's Fair, we definitely wouldn't be here today. And finally, last but not least, I'd like to thank my beautiful, loving wife, Olivia. You've helped support me through all of the stress and the chaos, and you've sacrificed a lot along the way too, including many weekend plans so that I could stay home and get more work done. And so I'll close by noting that this is an Early Career Achievement Award, so we're not done yet. Thank you all.
Hello, everybody. I'm going to thank my wife first. Allie, thank you so much. You're the best. I mean that. I love you. I'll thank Marcus, my friend and business partner. We've had so much fun over the years, and I look forward to many more. I'll thank my parents, Ida and Jay. Now that we have a little baby that a lot of you have probably seen, it's difficult, and I appreciate you even more. And I'll thank, WashU. I mean, I met both Allie, my wife, and Marcus, my friend, at WashU, and that's invaluable. And then I'll leave you guys, with an AI thought, since that's what we do. It won't be a prediction, it'll be a fact. So technology is a big part of our civilization. It's a uniquely human thing to make technology. Some other animals do it, but we do it way better. And AI is a technology that we're making now. And uniquely, AI is going to be the first technology capable of making new technology. Whether it's super intelligent, whether it's dumb, whether it's going to hurt us, whether it's going to help us, TBD, although I'm optimistic. But it is going to make new technology, and it's going to make it quickly, and it's going to change the world because of that fact. The one example now, you see AI writing code. That is AI making new technology. Even that one use case is disrupting the way the world works. And in the next few years, we're going to have robots, humanoid robots, powered by these world foundation models that are able to make new technology with their own two hands, just like we do. And it's going to be very, very interesting. I'm not sure how it'll go, but I hope you all follow along. Thanks. Take 'em.
Hi. I'm Corinna Tritel. I'm the chair and professor of the Department of History. I'm also the William Elliott Smith Endowed Professor, and I have the great honor of introducing distinguished alumna, Mary Bruce. It's right over here. If Mary looks familiar, you're not crazy. It's because you might have seen her on TV, where she has been informing viewers as the chief White House correspondent for ABC News. This is a role that calls for persistence, focus, and diplomacy. Her work can also be seen on Good Morning America, World News Tonight, Nightline, and 2020. During her time at WashU, Mary demonstrated early journalistic chops, contributing articles and reporting on campus events for student life, whether writing a piece discussing the administration's stance on file sharing in 2003 for the school paper, or asking hard-hitting questions at the White House. Across multiple presidencies, Mary has remained steadfast and unwavering in her commitment to reporting. Mary's work is an essential component of maintaining a robust democracy and engaging in civil discourse. Mary, we are honored to have contributed to your journey in Washington. Your passion, work ethic, and strength inspire us all. Keep up the excellent work. I'm proud to recognize you as a distinguished alumna of Arts and Sciences. Congratulations.
Why did I end up at WashU? I toured the campus on one of those picture-perfect days. Everyone was out in the quad. The students just seemed so happy and so engaged, and it instantly felt like the right fit. It was the first few weeks of school of freshman year, and Student Life called looking for my roommate because she had signed up at this fair to expressing an interest in writing for the paper. And my roommate wasn't home, but I was. And the person on the other end of the phone said, well, would you be interested in writing? And that was the beginning, really, of my career in journalism. The person who was then the editor-in-chief of Student Life, Jonathan Greenberger, went on to become my boss at ABC News for many years after that. So you just never know what happens when you're in the right place at the right time and you pick up that phone. Being a WashU student and a student of arts and sciences, I think really just helped to foster that constant curiosity that is critical in my professional life now, and as an arts and sciences student, hearing and learning from diverse perspectives and getting out of my comfort zone as much as I could. Max Okenfuss was my advisor in the history department and just a fantastic mentor, and not just in guiding my studies and my interests, but in sharing his endless curiosity. I will never forget his office. It was stacked floor to ceiling with books jammed in every nook and cranny, and he just always had an enthusiasm about learning that was really infectious. I've spent the last 20 years climbing up through the ranks here at ABC News. I started off answering phones on the DC assignment desk and then spent many years essentially making the rounds. I was a researcher, a producer, a field producer. I mean, you name it, I did it. I always told myself that I would do anything that felt like a step in the right direction, that felt like a challenge and a learning opportunity, and it has led me to where I am today. At its core, my job is to learn something new every day, to discover, to ask questions of elected officials on behalf of the American people, and that is something that I don't take for granted. It is a huge responsibility. I mean, every day when I walk through the gates here at the White House, if it doesn't take your breath away a little bit, and if you don't feel the weight of that, then I've always said it's time to move on. I haven't come close, though, to having that feeling. It weighs on you every single day when you walk through the door here. The responsibility, the privilege, the honor of doing this job. I think WashU really prepared me for what I do now because of that endless curiosity, that inquisitiveness. I think studying a variety of disciplines prepared me to cover multiple storylines now, often in the same day. It is my job to learn new things, and you never know where the day will take you. Our universities play such an important role in protecting our democracy, in advancing all of these fields, in pushing the ball forward and pushing the boundaries forward, and in America growing and thriving. And WashU is a place where all of those things are possible. Receiving this award is such a tremendous honor. This is an amazing and very gifted community. So I thank you for this opportunity. It isn't lost on me what an honor it is, and I promise that I will pay forward all of the lessons that WashU has taught me. I think it is really important to give back to WashU because WashU gave so much to me. It really opened my eyes to so much. It gave me the confidence and the determination to pursue my interests. And it is such a special and really magical place where those interests can be fostered and encouraged. And, who doesn't want to be a part of that magic?
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dean Hu, and thank you to your entire amazing team here at WashU. This is truly a tremendous honor, and it is really surreal because I do swear that I was just a student here not that long ago, although I have since learned it was, in fact, quite a bit of time ago. Thank you for this recognition, but also for the wonderful opportunity to reconnect with this community. It is such a gift to be given the chance to look back and reflect on how I got here, and I truly thank you for that. I was thinking of what I would say to you all today as I flew here this morning with my family from Disney World, which is another kind of accomplishment to survive a week at Disney World with 2 small children. But that is a place that is full of make-believe and magic and the promise of potential. But it made me think about the very real magic of this place, as I mentioned there in the video as well, and all of the true magic that this place has brought to my actual, very real, not make-believe life. When I came here as a freshman, I was lost, thoroughly lost. I didn't know what I wanted to study. I didn't know what I really was interested in. I certainly didn't know who I was as a person. And while I'm sure lots of universities claim that they can help guide their students to find their true passions, to me what makes WashU different, what makes this place actually magical, is how it embraces the not knowing. WashU gives its students permission to sit with their curiosities, to try new things, to dare to fail, and to not be in a rush to get where you are going. It teaches you to really understand that the journey is just as valuable as the destination, and that breeds confidence. It's that WashU spirit that gave me the courage and the confidence to seek out this profession, to take a job answering phones on the desk 20 years ago, a job that was awful, crazy hours that did not pay well. While many of my friends were pursuing graduate work, I was there picking up phones and making photocopies. But I knew that it could and would be worth it because I had been taught to lean into my curiosity. And when my time answering phones grew into overnight jobs and weekend production shifts that, trust me, were also not glamorous in the least, I knew that they could also be valuable because I told myself that anything in the right direction was worth doing, to follow those crumbs of passion that had been planted. And this place gave me the confidence to do that, to know that with every step along the way, I was honing a craft, exploring my newfound passion. And that's ultimately, I think, what gives all of us, every WashU student, the confidence to succeed, to go on and do the hard work, to be able to push ourselves, to push the envelope, to dig deeper, to face off with presidents and world leaders and ask the questions that now more than ever need to be asked. It's why I'm hopeful in these challenging and complicated times that I get a front row seat to every single day, that the next generation of WashU grads I know will be leading the charge and leading us forward. If I could also, on a more personal note, WashU completely burst my bubble in the best way possible. I wanted to get out of my comfort zone, at least that's what I told myself. I didn't know what that looked like or truly understood the benefits that that would bring to my life. I think of my very first day here, the first friend I made on that first day of orientation. We could not have been more different, but it is one of the most amazing friendships I've ever forged in my life, and I thank her for being here tonight. To do this kind of work, you need a village, and I have an amazing one through the friendships that I've forged here and through my family. My sister-in-law and her family who are here, my amazing parents, my amazing mother who turned me on to WashU, who brought me out here on a tour and said, nope, you gotta see this place. And yes, Mom, you were right. And do you want me to say it again? And to my husband, who truly redefines supportive on a daily basis. Thank you all for allowing me to do what I do and for all that you do to make that possible. And thanks to this amazing community for letting me be just a part of that magic and for this tremendous honor. Thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Tim Moore. I'm the chair of the John and Penelope Biggs Department of Classics and the John and Penelope Biggs Distinguished Professor of Classics.
And again, I'm Jeff Sachs, the chair and Edgar James Swift Professor of Psychological and Brain Sciences. Tonight, we are honored to introduce the power couple, Sue Mazzara and James Risch.
Sue and James have been friends of arts and sciences for over 40 years. The St. Louis natives were both the first generation in their families to pursue higher education. While at WashU, Sue discovered her love of the ancient Mediterranean, immersing herself in philosophy, history, the Greek and Latin languages, and classical literature. and she graduated with majors in classics, comparative literature, and philosophy.
James, who was influenced by the political and social upheavals of the late 60s and early 70s, focused on history and social sciences and majored in psychology.
Their love of arts and sciences wasn't the only thing that they discovered at WashU, though. This June will mark the 49th anniversary of their wedding, which took place at our very own Graham Chapel.
While their journey together began at WashU in St. Louis, it spanned across multiple cities and countries in nearly 5 decades. After completing their studies, they began their professional careers in New York City, with James in finance and Sue in advertising.
Many successful years later, the couple decided to join forces and establish their own independent consulting firm, Torchfish, advising startups and small to medium-sized enterprises on brand strategy. Today, they live in Geneva, Switzerland, and frequently travel around Europe, which has enabled them to reconnect with their shared love of the classical world, visiting Greece, Italy, Turkey, and the Aegean in pursuit of history, archaeology, and the remnants of ancient civilizations.
But no matter where they worked or lived, Sue and James have remained loyal to WashU, demonstrating decades-long generous support of both arts and sciences and the Brown School, never forgetting the path they forged together here.
Sue and James, it is our honor to present you with the Distinguished Alumni Awards. Congratulations.
Washington U for me was the shining city on top of the hill. It had everything. So I climbed those stairs, I passed through those arches, and I was home.
Our families were very middle to working class families. My father was a carpenter. My mother was a stay-at-home mom, which was common for that period. Sue's father was a St. Louis City fireman. So they really, from an early age, drove us, you have to study, you have to be good in school, you have to go to college, because that is the magic ticket. And one summer, Sue raised her hand and said, who wants to play tennis? I volunteered, and out of that, I think we came, besides just a better backhand, was probably a bit understanding of who we are and where we're going in the world. A couple years after we graduated, the partnership was finalized at Graham Chapel, where we were married. My career journey I think the best way to describe it is non-linear. I ended up, the bulk of my career was actually in finance and banking on a global basis. Along the way, I did get an MSW from the Brown School, and then later on an MBA from Columbia University in New York. And to be honest with you, as I moved through my career and it got more difficult and complex, it was actually that generalist approach that proved the most valuable to me. And I often joke towards the kind of later on in my career, they hired an MBA, and actually what they got was an arts and science student. In a lot of ways, I think they got the better part of the deal.
I was offered a job at Young & Rubicam, Y&R, a classic Mad Men, Madison Avenue ad agency. And I never looked back. The rest is 30 years of history with Y&R, 5 in New York, and 25 in Geneva. I'm most proud of now our business, Torchfish, and our bringing together our expertise, our experiences, our loves, and our passions. And the fact that we are creating new projects for clients and working together to do that, well, that's just heaven.
There's a concept I think we both live by. You do good and you try to do the right thing out there. There should be a sign in front of WashU that says, WashU is here because there's been a lot of very robust and generous private support. And if we look back at our 4 years of experience and the benefits we have received from that since we've graduated over our lives, it far exceeds the cost of tuition. The value of the Distinguished Alumni Award, I think we can go back and we still clearly remember when we received a call from Dean Hu, and he informed us that we would be receiving this award. And I think, if you say surprised and honored, those would be understatements. If you step back for a second, the WashU alumni group is a pretty large, diverse, and accomplished group of people. And we always felt very proud and honored that we could say we're part of that group.
I think the role of Washington University in my life and my family's life is indescribable, indispensable, and priceless.
We were going through an open door. We were kind of the first, and we were going to discover great things. Our parents, that door was always closed to them. I never did realize, but maybe in retrospect, as we look back on those interactions, they were not only proud of seeing their dream fulfilled, but they were then living part of our dream, which that relationship is something so powerful that you never forget.
Learning how to learn is probably the most exquisite gift that arts and sciences can bestow. James and I can certainly bear witness to this truth. So in fact, if someone should ask you about your arts and science training, why did you study this? What can you do with that? You can confidently say, no matter what discipline you chose in arts and sciences, you can say everything. What can I do with that? I can do everything.
They didn't put the footprints on the floor.
And make sure that this is...
Okay. I guess we start with, first of all, let me make a comment. Yes, I did have more hair 50 years ago. It's been tough. No, we'd first like to start and say, wow, that this honor, this award is just beyond our expectations. However, in a way, we don't feel it is really about us, and we're going to kind of come through some of the themes that about everybody else and how we got here. And first of all, we do think we accept it on behalf of all those people in our lives along the way who supported us, but more importantly, believed in us. And that got us through a lot of obstacles, and it also provided the opportunity to have a really wonderful, successful, and meaningful life. And that is so valuable. We also, though, just to let you know, we're not going to try to thank all those people. Otherwise, you'd have to get a room here tonight. This is not a low-cost hotel. So with that, though, I will now turn to Sue, and we'll talk about the people in the room here who have helped us, because that's much more fun to actually see those reactions.
The best place to start is with Washington U, and of course the people behind it. We owe a deep vote of gratitude and thanks to Dean Hu for nominating us for this award, for which we remain humbled and privileged and proud. But we also want to thank and acknowledge him for his vision for arts and sciences at Washington U, which is collaborative and interdisciplinary and international and cooperative and co-creative. This vision is surely the assured success of the future of arts and sciences at Washington U. We also want to acknowledge and thank Tim Moore, first for heading up a fantastic classics department. It's so filled with energy, it's so vital, it's so exciting, it's just wonderful to observe. But we also want to thank him very much for being a keen supporter and partner with us as he helps to allocate the funds that we provide students to pursue their individual passions, which include things like numismatics, digs in Tuscany and Roman Egypt and soon to be Austria, applying AI to damaged ancient texts, ancient music, participating in ampersand programs that take students to Rome and Athens. They will be transformative. And not least, one creating a course in ancient crafts and spinning and weaving, the art of it, but also the economics of it. I mean, these are the paths and the passions that the students have been able to pursue, and thank you, Tim, very much for supporting the students in this.
I would also like to especially thank Jeff Sachs for his kind words. 50 years ago, and the psychology department's only 100 years ago, 100 years old. 50 years ago, the psychology department provided a home, a bit of a refuge, and guidance to a student who could never figure out his major. And for that, I eventually did figure it out in time to graduate. So for that gift from the psychology department, I'm incredibly and eternally grateful.
Every person sitting in our tables in specific this evening in the room is very, very important to us, and we thank you profoundly for being here. And this includes a group of high schoolers from Southwest High School who also are alums of Washington U. Some of you have been very important in our lives. Some of you, in fact, will recall being commuter kids, taking cars and trams and buses and whatever to get out here to Washington U. Some of you will also recall brown bagging lunches on the steps in Bush Hall going back 50 years. Who could have imagined that it would culminate in a night like this? Of course, certainly not I. But all of you could be and be up here with us. Lifetimes of success, lifetimes of triumphs, of joys, of challenges, of hard work, lots and lots of hard work that still continues. But I think we'd all agree it is Washington U and Washington U Arts and Sciences that has contributed a huge amount to all of those successes.
Yeah. We want to kind of wrap this up, though, with a bit of forward thought. And the question for us we often get is, why do you care about Washington U? Why do you care about arts and sciences? Why do you support it? And I think our answer is always easy. It's about the next generation. It's not about us. That we have a duty, we have a responsibility to ensure those students who come after us, and many generations after that, will have the same opportunities and hopefully better opportunities than we did. Now tonight it's very special for us because we have our own personalized, private next generation table. And with us and joined us tonight, which is so special for us. It includes our niece, Katie, her wife, Kova, includes Ben, our nephew, and his wife, Rachel. It also includes 3 of the 5 kind of group children, soon to be 6. We have someone with us who hasn't quite arrived tonight, so we'll soon be up to number 6. And, you know, it's important to us because we have witnessed, I must admit at a very safe distance, the efforts and the commitments and the value you guys hold about education for your children, to show each one has the appropriate and meaningful path to move forward to achieve their dreams and their goals. Now, we'd like to say 2 things about that, because we know it's hard, we know it's tough. It ain't easy any day. It never was, and I think now it's even more so. But 2 thoughts. First of all, we are incredibly proud for you. And second of all, you're not alone. Of course, you have your family, you have us, but more importantly, you have everyone in this room cheering you on, because ultimately, this is the reason I believe we're mostly here. It is about ensuring that next generation. So in a lot of ways, we come back and say this award isn't about us. It is really about you as that physical representation of the next generation and that success, which will be so important.
And there's one last person I need to acknowledge, 50 plus years ago at Washington U, I fell in love with learning, I fell in love with the classics, and I fell in love and found the love of my life and the most precious, vital, and beautiful life gift that life could pass on to me.
And the nice thing here is I don't have to call out to my favorite partner in the audience. I can stand next to her and give her a big kiss.
Right. Anima Dominium mei, the other half of my soul.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sue and Jim. Now it's me back here. It is now my pleasure to introduce the first of the two Dean's medalists of the evening, Dr. Walter Massey. Walter is a man of many great accomplishments, with a legacy spanning decades, institutions, and in fact, an entire galaxy. Walter has had a career that exemplified the bridging of arts and sciences. When he began his studies in 1960, both the physics department and university as a whole looked very different from they do today. But Walter has always been a beacon of excellence. During his long and illustrious career, he helped convince Congress to invest in the largest and most ambitious project ever funded by the National Science Foundation, the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory. He is the former president of Morehouse College, director of Argonne National Lab, director of the National Science Foundation, chair of the Secretary of Energy Advisory Board, trustee of the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute and the Marine Biological Laboratory, co-founder of the National Society of Black Physicists, just to name a few of his many, many accolades. He has also served on the boards of the Smithsonian, the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago, the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, among many others, demonstrating his love of both arts and sciences. And if that weren't enough, he also helped with the creation of the giant Magellan Telescope, which resulted in the Walter Massey asteroid being named after him. We honor Walter tonight, not just for all that he has accomplished in his field, but also for his commitment to strengthening the country through racial and social equality by ensuring active inclusion, access to quality education, and mentorship for women and underrepresented minorities, particularly in STEM areas. His work and devotion to the arts and sciences and the two fields that he loves the most will reverberate through time over generations, and we are honored to be part of this history. So thank you so much, Walter. Unfortunately, Walter could not join us in person this evening, but we did take the celebration to him back in February when we held a wonderful small event in Chicago. We have a special guest tonight honoring Walter, and it's Whitey Cook. Whitey and Walter were fellow students in the same department in the 1960s, and he will say a few words about his friend after the video.
When I arrived at WashU, the first day I was there, I was walking across campus, and I saw this face that looked familiar. and it turned out to be an old friend from Atlanta. And he had been there a year. He was getting his PhD in chemistry. And one of the things that was surprising to me after I met him and talked about where I would find a place to live is how segregated St. Louis was. However, what was a wonderful surprise on the other side is just how open and welcoming and nurturing Washington University was, and especially the physics department. So one of the things that I appreciated later from my education at WashU was I not only learned physics, and I know I got a very good education in physics from my thesis director, Dr. Eugene Feenberg, but I also feel that Washington U and that environment prepared me for things outside of physics, to appreciate things that a liberal education is supposed to make you appreciate. We live in a very complicated world now, much more complicated than I recall at any time during my life. There are issues ranging from artificial intelligence, political conflicts, global change, changes in the political systems in the United States and around the world. How do you understand these things? How do you begin to think about how they affect you, how you should respond, how you should bring your family along with you in responding? And a liberal arts education it gives you some framework in order to try to understand these issues. The thing that's motivated me throughout my careers, and I've had a number of career paths, physics and other areas as I've developed, is I always wanted to learn something new. And I also wanted to be doing things that I thought would make a difference in somebody's life. The thing I'm most proud of is having been president of Morehouse College for 12 years. And people have asked me, what is the job you've enjoyed most, or where you, and I said, well, I may not have enjoyed it most, but it was the most satisfying job because I could see how I was contributing directly to the education of young men, mostly young African-American men, who were going out to make a difference in the world. I could see that, the role I played in that. Having this medal really be awarded to me without, as a surprise, really, it means so much. I think Washington University is at an important point in its history. It's a much better school than it was when I was there. God, 60 years ago, I can't believe that. Been that long. It was a good school then, but it's just improved tremendously over the years in quality and impact and reputation. So I would just like to leave the message to anyone who wants to see excellent institutions grow and prosper, that this is a school worth investing in. Washington University allowed me to learn more than just physics. The environment was open, supportive, many opportunities to experiment and explore. So looking back at all the things I can take away, I can see how much the school contributed to me, broad education, rather than just education in physics, and it's something I think was very important. The person I would like to thank most connected with Washington University for my success is Professor Eugene Feenberg, who was not only a supporter, a mentor, but became a colleague, and ultimately, certainly I thought of him as a friend, and I think he thought of me as a friend also.
So I'm Wiley Kirk, and I will bear witness a little bit to how such an individual as Walter came about. I was an undergraduate in the physics department when Walter was a graduate student. He was about 4 years advanced to me. But anyway, he was a very unique individual even at that time. I remember how much he studied in the library, how generous his personality was, and also how friendly he was to even undergrads like us. And there's a little story I can share with you. When we, at that time, the physics department had its own library. And every day when I'd come into the library, there was this table, and it had a lot of equations, a lot of books on it, and then it was just page after page of formulas and equations and so forth, and notes. And the next day I'd come in, and all this was changed. And so I asked the librarian, well, what was going on? Who was doing all this? And she said, well, it's Walter Massey. And I said, well. So that got my interest, and I started to learn more about Walter and found out he was a really unique person, and tracked his career, and as many things have been said about how many accomplishments. He not only worked as a professor in physics at Brown University and University of Chicago, he did all these other things in leading scientific institutions, the National Science Foundation, for example, et cetera. So as I started to wind down my career, I began to think, well, how can I make a contribution? Maybe not like that, but, you know, do something that would honor someone of this capability and yet do something for the university as well. So in that regard, I am establishing the Walter Massey Graduate Fellowship in Physics in his honor. And I hope that, and as was mentioned, I was at the University at Chicago with the Medalist Award that was given to him. And that was 62 years that we met again. I had talked with him occasionally on the phone or email or something like that, but actually meeting him was 62 years later. So that was a great honor. And I hope that this establishment of this fund will actually encourage other people to follow his trailblazing ways in the future, to be not only a scientist, but maybe a leader in institutions or academic areas or in industry, et cetera. Thank you.
Wiley, thank you so much for joining us, both in Chicago and here in St. Louis, to honor our friend, Walter. What an absolutely inspiring evening this has been. We are so fortunate to have such an incredible, talented group of alumni in arts and sciences. You have trailblazed, forged impressive careers, and most importantly, inspired our students and given our future graduates a road map to follow. Our next and final honoree of the night is another legend of excellence, Dr. Mark Gold. Mark is a pioneer in the field of addiction research. Through his work, he has fundamentally reshaped our understanding, treatment, and perception of addiction. He is one of the top-cited addiction scientists in the world, an inventor, a founding translational researcher, an eminent scholar, a distinguished professor, and a department chair whose career in translational neuroscience began in 1972. From revolutionizing the neurobiological understanding of opioid dependence in the 1970s to founding the first national drug hotline, which served both as a resource and a research tool to assess patterns of cocaine abuse in the 1980s, Mark has always combined science and outside-the-box thinking. Mark has played a pivotal role in ushering the field toward recognizing addiction as a chronic brain disease, laying the groundwork for revolutionary medication-assisted treatments. Mark's passion for new discoveries is only matched by his desire to challenge the way society views addiction. Moreover, he's celebrated for his decades-long career at the University of Florida, his books and research publications, and his countless awards and accolades. But here in St. Louis, we also recognize Mark for his tremendous generosity and ongoing commitment to arts and sciences and WashU. Through more than 50 years of giving every year in the last 50 years, including gifts of impact in arts and sciences and the Dr. Mark and Janice Gold Professorship in Addiction Sciences, the next generation of scientists can carry on his great work and continue to bring about positive change and life-changing research. Mark, I'm honored to present you with the Dean's Medal Award tonight.
My family was in the leather business, and lo and behold, my father would come to St. Louis with my uncle and sometimes with my grandfather. And one trip he said, "Would you like to come along?" I saw the campus and I applied early decision in 1966. It was the only college I applied to. There was a lot going on at WashU at that time. You had Levi Montalcini and the labs working on the brain and nerve growth factors, and at the same time, at WashU Medical School, they were pioneering the new psychiatry based on diagnosis and a medical model and not based on psychoanalysis. My own career is in translational neuroscience, meaning you take an idea, you develop it in evolutionary neurobiology, and you try to apply that to help people with real life problems. History has been very important to me in my career because much of what we do in drug policy and in understanding pharmaceutical development depends on history. Our team showed how opioids acted on the brain, where in the brain opioid withdrawal occurred, and how to reverse it with opioids or with non-opioids. And so we did all that in 1977 and 78, and it was a shocking discovery because people at that time didn't really believe in the brain and behavior or addiction as a brain disease. And after that, I was stuck. I was an expert in addiction, whether I liked it or not. I think I'm really proud to have been able to contribute to the general understanding that addiction is a disease of the brain and that we should help people, we shouldn't stigmatize them, and that treatments, when they don't work, are our fault. Don't blame the patient because we haven't invented treatments yet that work very well. Maybe the best thing in terms of accomplishments has been mentoring younger people, and that's been my secret is I've had fantastic mentees. Watching them is kind of like watching my own children, and I have a lot of satisfaction from that. I'm proudest of all my accomplishments to have been a good father, husband, and grandfather. I wouldn't be the person I am or had the ability to contribute if I hadn't gone to WashU. I matriculated being the lead singer of the Mad Hatters, which competed against Bruce Springsteen in the Battle of the Bands in the state of New Jersey in 1966. Imagine like somebody who thinks they're an athlete or a lead singer showing up and leaving as a translational researcher who's going to invent new treatments and medicines that'll be used around the world. Mind-boggling. So what do I owe WashU? Most everything. So of course I want to thank you, Dean, for calling me and nominating me. And we didn't know each other, and it's kind of love at first sight. It's really great to speak last because I don't have to worry about going over. You know, and also I can agree with everything that the other award recipients have said and not repeat that. WashU is a fantastic place. It deserves to be recognized as such. And here, for me, I do have a table. I was here one time before. Mark Wrighton's here. He gave me a Distinguished Alumni Award in 1989. And since that time, we've texted with each other and talked, and I served on various councils here. But, you know, I think Mark was a talent scout or wanted to give me more incentive to do much more in my career. So by 1989, I really had just worked on opioid action in the brain and where withdrawal occurred and where we might think addiction occurred. And I worked on cocaine and the dopamine hypothesis, both of which have been big careers for people. But since that time, I did a lot, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful to WashU for the background, the education, the ability to think. And I too, like the other award recipients, had a circuitous career here. I majored in English, even though it's my second language. I majored in history. I majored in psychology, but mostly took African American history at that time. And they gave us credit in psychology for that, so thanks, Jeff. I'd say in 1989, the table that we had here included my daughter Jessie, who's a psychiatrist, and Larry and Hyla, my brother-in-law, and Hyla, his wonderful wife, and Steve, my son, and my wife Janice. Now, Janice is from Florida, so when I left WashU, she convinced me to move to Florida, and it was a great decision. We've been married almost 55 years, but the gauntlet that she had was she had to come to WashU in the summer. I was taking physics, and I told her about how great Forest Park was, and how they had the Muni Opera, and how they had all these wonderful things for her to do. But I never came out of the lab or the classroom. So she was stuck in 100-degree weather, really by herself, and wondering, like, if this is, should I sign up for this? I was at the University of Florida, she said, you know, where they have football and athletes, and I was the sweetheart of the football fraternity, and certainly I'm no football player, but I was pretty good with the slide rule. So, thank you. Thank you very much. But WashU means so much to me and my family. I recommend it to everyone. Larry graduated from law school. Jesse was on the faculty here. Kyle went to WashU. And who knows, maybe my grandson, Nathaniel, will follow in our footsteps. But I do really think that I learned the ability to think. I'm learned how much I've loved WashU over the years. I'm grateful for my WashU colleagues, Jeff and Eric. I prefer being a research professor
in the Department of Psychiatry to being an eminent emeritus scholar, which I found to sound like a death sentence. I was like a brain in a jar. But just to bring you up to date, since '89, aside from, having a family and so forth, my work was at Princeton and Yale, and we developed food as an addiction and highly processed food as an addiction. And my mentees lead that work at Princeton and Michigan and Yale in major labs. And it was pretty much, being a mentor is great. It's so much fun. It's more fun for me than for them. But they do carry on the work in a way that you couldn't even possibly consider. So I'm grateful for my mentees as well. I got the chance to write treatment algorithms. I don't really know anything about this, but I was a fast learner. And in addiction, when we started, it's hard to imagine that when I started working in addiction, we could not admit an alcoholic or drug-addicted person to Yale New Haven Hospital. We could only see them in the emergency room, treat them as we could, and then send them to a church basement for AA meeting or to a church-sponsored rehab like Daytop Village or something. The field had so few people that in the first textbook of addiction medicine, I had to write 11 chapters. I'm down to 1 chapter now, which is much more normal. But the people that started it had this feeling that it was, number one, not the people's fault. Number two, that things happen and we just needed to apply modern neuroscience. And so we worked on that. Food as an addiction also relates to the trial for behavioral addictions. The internet and so forth, it's the same dopamine pathway, which for people in the audience that don't really think about this stuff, when Mark Wrighton gave me Distinguished Alumni Award, one of the big findings we had was that cocaine was addictive. That would seem like a joke. You can laugh. It's like a joke, right? But in 1980, the DSM, or this organized psychiatry, said cocaine was not addicting until 1988. I had to work on it for 8 years in my lost decade, proving that cocaine was addicting. So now we have all the behavioral addictions are really based on dopamine. And then a big area of my work was on secondhand smoke. So we developed a smoking rap model. We did tobacco secondhand smoke and worked on the tobacco case that made it to the Supreme Court. We worked on other things, cannabis smoke and secondhand smoke and third-hand smoke, and even did opium smoke live in Afghanistan to show the effects of second and third-hand opium smoke on children and why they couldn't learn in that environment, because first-hand smoke and second-hand smoke are the same. The only difference is consent. So I just, in closing, you saw it on my video. I'm grateful. I hope that I don't have to work another 40 years to get another award because my timeline is condensing. So just keep that in mind, and thank you all so very much. It's a wonderful university, and the university is made up of wonderful, caring people that are trying to change the world. Thank you.
Sarah wants us to photo. Congratulations again. Thank you so much.
Well, everyone always says that's a hard act to follow, but this is true in this case. All of them were. Well, first and foremost, what I want to do is congratulate all of the honorees tonight. Marcus, Michael, Mary, Sue, James, Walter, and Mark. I cannot tell you how inspired we all are by the stories we heard tonight, and your accomplishments are monumental, just amazing. So I'd ask everyone to give a new round of applause for each and every one of them. Now, I want to thank the honorees for all their contributions to Washington University, to arts and sciences. And I want to thank each and every one of you for your contributions to arts and sciences. And everyone in this room knows absolutely that it's true. Arts and sciences are the heart and soul of Washington University. Something we all believe in. So I want to thank everyone for coming this evening. I hope you enjoyed the program as much as I did. I want to thank you for being here, your support, and I hope that we will see you at the many events that Arts and Sciences hosts and Washington U hosts, and of course see you next year at another one of these distinguished alumni award dinners. So thank you again for coming. Enjoy the rest of your evening, be safe, and go Bears.